Good day. Welcome back to the studio. I feel like I've grown roots in this chair. It's not very comfortable, but it seems to be where I've been the last 4,832 segments / episodes. But it's okay. I think I'm rounding the third corner, or going into the chicane, or on the last few laps, depending on your sport / race options. Okay, where we're at now. This has been on and off more times than light switch in the public bathroom. But I think it's going on for probably the last-ish time. I've got everything pretty much mocked up. The only thing I have left to do is to make this last cut. But let me show you kind of what I've done. I don't know if you remember this end I had a bunch of problems with respects to lining up. So let me bring you in and give you a show and tell. So the original line down here, obviously this corner was pushed in like we talked about. And I was really struggling with how I was going to kind of make a new piece. And I went so far as to buy some new steel that I was gonna put down there and drill some holes and, you know, weld some nuts on it and all sorts of stuff. But then I was looking at that piece down on the floor over there, because I was practicing welding on it, trying to learn the welder, and I realized that, let me remove this. It had the piece that I needed on the old piece. So all I did was I put the fender on, and then I just mocked it. I drew some, I put some steel behind there and I temporarily welded it, and then I just put some felt circles in a Sharpie, put this upside down, marked it, and then essentially cut the old piece out using the angle grinder, which was like that. So I cut all that out and then just welded the other one back in there. I just kind of tacked it in there because I wanted to do a full mock-up. So last night I actually put the fender on and got all the seams and everything aligned, got all this squared and aligned, and it worked out really, really good. So the plan now is to finish welding this in. It's really strong. I'm sure it's probably good enough, but I just want to clean it up a little bit, because now that I know how to use the welder a bit better. And then what I'll do is I'll wire wheel it and then paint it, rust proof it, and do all that sort of stuff. I'm not going to show you the backside because it looks like an episode of a slasher movie in the final death scenes. That's kind of embarrassing. So I'm just going to put the skin on it and cover it so that nobody will ever see it again. That's my plan. So I'm going to get this all cut up, cleaned up, and then tonight I'm going to make this final cut. So then I can actually get a good night's sleep. Get this cut and get everything ready, and then if I'm feeling saucy, I'll zit, 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 zit. This weld is going to be exposed, so I'm actually going to practice a little bit more on the other skin and see the kind of the welding technique that will work the best, and just kind of go from there. So let's just get cracking on this. I got to tap these holes. This piece that came off the other one is pretty rusted, and these holes are pretty beat up. So I'm going to go get the tap and die set and run a tap through these and get it all cleaned up, and then I'll finish working on that. All right, stick around. Man, are these holes ever rusted? Like, I mean, rusted. Put a little bit of lubrication in there. Okay, since I don't have a tap that's the right thread count, we'll just put some oil in these and just drive the bolts through. Okay. Little bit of rust reformer. Converts rust instantly to be protected, paintable surface. These Rust-Oleum cans, they have this adjustable sprayer. And apparently, if you pick the right one, it'll do like a fan spray, vertical and horizontal. Okay, that's all I can do for that. And we'll let that dry. Whew. Okay. I know I kind of cut off, but that's okay. The camera roll got real hot and I was in the groove. And so I just turned music on that can't play on YouTube because of copyright stuff. So I just kind of plowed through it. So I got this cleaned up for the most part. I got to come through and grind out these spot welds that I did. And then repaint this. I realized after I had to sand it off and put some weld through primer on there, and I'll get that cleaned up. I got all this on. I got this all welded. So now basically what's left is bodywork to get all this finished up. Sand it, get it primed. On this joint, because I couldn't get in, obviously, to weld anywhere, I put in some JB Weld, the two-stage metal epoxy, and it worked. It worked really, really well. So I got to sand in there and get that kind of cleaned up and get it ready to go. This dent, I did manage to pull it out a little bit. So I think, you know, it's just a tiny bit now. So what I'll probably end up doing is just put a little skim coat of Bondo over there and, you know, like a skim coat, just to mask it a little bit better and kind of do the rest of this. So everything is all in. Now it's just seam sealer, paint, some welding on the torque box. I got to do all those plug welds along the bottom, but I noticed that there was a gap. So I got to put some self-tappers through the top and kind of suck it up, and then I can plug weld it and then take the self-tappers out, or just leave them in, grind off the end, whatever. And finish that up, and then it's just all the other stuff. I got to go around and tighten up all the body mounts that I loosened, put in the ones that I took out on this side, get the fender on, and sand, primer, sand, dust, sand, and then the final spray coat. So I'm in good shape to get this done before I have to go. So. All right, good day. It is Saturday, and it's a beautiful day outside, and it's a day to really get thrashing on this. I'm not too sure where I left off before. I apologize if the video is a little discombobulated. It's been a thrashing week. I spent about an hour and a half kind of each night on this thing, working on various areas, welding, getting the torque box all in, getting the floor all in, and getting the side panel all on and getting that seam all welded. So today it's going to be getting everything basically reassembled. I got to get the fenders on. I got to get all the pieces, parts and pieces put on that, and then really start getting to paint. So let me catch you up, and then we'll do, you know, a little bit better job today of videotaping what's going on. So here, let's have a quick walk around. Fenders all in. Everything's all bolted up. The only thing I got to do is obviously mount the cruise control. I got the computer module that's got to go on, the windshield washer fluid, or holder downer container thing. I got to put the plate back in here, get all this wire all back buttoned up. All this is done. It's all bolted in. The only issue that I have right now is these bolts, they don't line up. Obviously, because that rack is probably bent and this is not. So I'm gonna figure out what we're gonna do here. If I'm just gonna waller out these holes and clean it up, I don't know. It's not on the agenda right now. All the seams and everything look good. I will put some, just a skim coat of body filler on this and then clean up the seams just to make it look a little more uniform. Obviously, I'm not gonna put, you know, gobs of it on there because that wasn't the intent. All of it's, I'm not gonna get too close here because I don't want you to really see this weld. But it's all done. I got it a little hot, so it did warp a little bit, but I'm just gonna skim it with some body filler and then it should be good to go. Okay, inside, everything's all done. I got the seam sealer all on. It's still a little ticky, but you know, I did what I cussed at the factory doing. I gobbed it in some places. I did put spray foam down in here in some of these bigger holes from the underside and the top just to help seal it up. But it's all in. Carpet's gonna be going on this, so I'm not really worried about how, you know, kind of good it looks. It's all painted, and then the weld inside, I got it all seam sealed and kind of cleaned up. We got a few things to do here, grind some of that stuff off, but it's all kind of good enough. And yeah, the rest of it's all in. So on the underside, I'm not going to be able to follow you down, but you'll get the idea. So the torque box is all in, body mounts are all in, it's all welded. I did paint part of it. I got to finish painting the rest of it. I got it painted up kind of to the front there. So it's all in, body mounts all fastened, and everything is good. Okay, got the trusty old 10mm socket and a drill, and away we go. This new Fender that came, and I even looked at the old Fender, the holes aren't tapped for anything. Some of these are machine screws, some of them are kind of a wood screw. So I think what I'm gonna have to end up doing is just kind of pounding these in. Not that I really want to, but there's really not a whole lot of choice in the matter. And I've already scratched this up pretty good, trying to find all these holes. So me and my big feet walking around trying to find stuff, and I knocked the fan over onto its back and subsequently bit the blades into the casing. So now they're all bent, and now the fan doesn't work anymore. So I'm down a vacuum and a fan on this build. So yeah, I got this extra bracket and I don't know what it's for. I might have to go back and look at some old video, maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. Let's get this plate in. Oh, without that fan running, it's brutal. It is just brutal. Might have to run back to the hardware store because this isn't sustainable. Yes, I know I'm putting tools on a Fender that's brand new and screws. Yep. But thanks for noticing. This is my oh no face. That's all on. Let me see if I can fix this fan real fast. I really did a number on this thing. Even if it spins but kind of goes a little wonky, I'm good with it. It's got a guard on it. Not really what I wanted to be doing though. I need to be working on the Jeep, not this. Let's give you back your aerodynamic qualities. Nope, not even close. Yep, you're bent pretty good. You're okay, and you're just a little bent. There, perfect. Nope. Ooh, that's really bent. There's no way this thing's gonna work right again. Just no way. Okay, welcome back. I decided to switch gears a little bit and move on to paint. I'm gonna start off with some 120 grit and just get off some of this big stuff that's left over from the citrus strip, from the rhino liner, just lightly over it. And then I'll go back over with some 320, just lightly again. Or I'll go right up to like 600 and just get it ready for primer. We'll see after I hit it with this 120 and see what it does. I decided to put a mask on because there's going to be a lot of dust. And I really don't feel like having that in my nose. So, yeah. All the painters, professional painters, are probably just cringing right now. Keep in mind, I've never really done this before, so I'm kind of going by what I learned on the internet and whatever. We're not looking for, again, show quality paint. We're looking for kind of 60-40 paint. 60 feet away, 40 miles an hour, you know. Kind of better than a roller and a brush, but not as good as what a professional would do. That makes sense. So to get all the surface stuff off, I'm just going to use some regular glass cleaner. This is Sprayway. It's the foaming kind. Just to clean up all the dust and stuff that's on it. And then we'll go after, I have some various, this is a after wash. It removes stripping residue, which we did use. I also have some naphtha, which is widely used, and then I do have some mineral spirits. So I'm not too sure which is kind of the best one to use for this application. So I'm just going to try a couple various things. It's about making sure that the paint sticks, because I'm going to do 2 coats of primer. Do a decent coat, let it dry, and then we'll board sand it and get out all the imperfections that we can. Then I'll hit it again with a thinner, just a nice thin coat. Polish it up with some 600 grit, some 400, 600 grit, just to get all the scratches out. And an easy way to do that is to actually, what I learned was dusting it. So when you do the second coat of primer, and you want to just get that surface stuff off, you just take some regular black spray paint and just very lightly just dust it. And the intent of that is when you sand, you basically sand it until there's no black left. That way you know that you've got a nice even coat. And that's for beginners like me. So that, because the professional guys, they can tell by looking and by feeling, they can feel all the stuff. But I'm just not there. So I might cheat and just put just a light dusting of black spray paint on it and then sand that away, and then hopefully that's good. So that's where we're gonna go. Around this Jeep sign, there's some stuff that's flaking that I can't get with anything. So, oh, this is the tedious stuff that's just, I gotta hold my tongue just right to get in these grooves. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to get down in there. I definitely don't want to be doing this, but it's just some of this stuff that's got some pretty big edges to it. Stop doing that! I get it. I just don't have the fancy tools that you all have. So that expensive stuff, like a media blaster, that would work great. And this is still 120 grit sandpaper for all you cringers. I'm not hitting it with like a 60 or an 80. Wow, I am using a screwdriver, so yes, it's close. Please don't send me hate messages about this. I get it. I know I'm not doing this right. But like I said, I think I said on the very first video when I got into this, when I started the body work, was, am I going to make mistakes? Yep. This is one of them. I'm making mistakes. But short of spending, you know, thousands of dollars in a body shop on basically, essentially a $6,000 Jeep, it just doesn't make financial sense. Okay, now that I've essentially put some nice deep scratches in this, I'll come behind it with some 320, try and get them out. Ooh, that's a good sound. Just dig into the metal. If I don't get this stuff, this paint is just gonna flake off. And that will be even worse. You know, I'd rather see a few scratches through the paint than have to repaint it and make it look even worse. Kind of a trade-off. Okay, so this was kind of Tanya's job, and she did really good at it. I have a little bit of this citrus strip left. So I need to do this piece up here around the corner. On the back here, I got to take the tail lights off and stuff. So I'll just get this here for right now. I just want to get this on and get it cooking while I finish wiping down up there. Takes a few hours. And what we learned is, when you do it, you got to cover it with cellophane. Otherwise it dries before it has a chance to cook in there. So just some regular saran wrap. Now Tanya had a whole thing set up here where she poured it into a paint tray and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to do that, and I'm probably going to wish I should have. It's pretty thick. It's like almost like a syrup. Now keep in mind, whatever this stuff touches, it will strip. And I am not kidding. Anything with paint, it will take it right off. So apply it pretty liberally. I probably don't have enough on. I know Tanya was just caking it on. I was like, you have to use so much because that stuff's expensive. But apparently you do. So we'll give this a go here, see what this does. Oh, and don't get it on your hands like what I just did, because it does burn. The actual chemical. Citrus is naturally low pH. It is acidic. I don't know if this is going to work or not. There. Okay. We'll leave that cooking. Welcome back to the other side now. So that side's all complete. The fender's on. I know there's a few little things that I got to kind of sand. There's still some rough edges up around the fender. I do have the citrus strip on the back corner cooking. I expect to pull that off probably tomorrow. I'm just going to let it sit overnight, and I'll definitely videotape that when I take it off so you guys can see kind of how it sloughs off. I did videotape this whole segment of putting the body filler on, and my neighbor walked by and decided it was a good time to introduce himself. And he has a fascination with Jeeps, so I ended up talking to him while I was kind of working, because that stuff dries pretty quick. So I got the skim coat on the weld. It looks really good. It's dry now, so it looks really good. It's almost ready to sand. Got the plug welds all done, and then I put a really thin coat on this. It's about 1/16 of an inch thick right now, but I am going to be sanding it down quite a bit and just, you know, feathering it and getting the seams all lined up and see if I can get a little bit of that concave out. So it's cooking. It'll be done in probably the next 10 minutes and ready to sand. This is all ready to go. I sanded this all off. There's a few tiny little spaces that I'll hit with some 320. And then we are ready to paint, ready to get the primer. Got to clean everything, but this is literally the finish line. I can taste it. I got the seat in. I actually drove the Jeep out and drove it back. Made sure everything that I did under the hood all works. Everything looks good. Even the cruise control works, which was surprising. So it's good. But I think that's going to do it for today. So the next one, I'm hoping this next segment will be the last one. It'll be the primer, and then if I can get to it before I leave, the paint. So it's going to be a mad dash. But thanks all for sticking around. I really appreciate all your time and that you've invested in this journey with me and getting this back on the road and getting it complete. So stick around. We'll see you on the next one.